We begin tonight with a denial from the Nigerian Air Force that the missing Alpha Jet 475 aircraft has been found. It follows a report in this day newspaper that the wreckage of the plane was discovered in Bama. Ferdinand Roha reports.
Statement from the Nigerian Air Force is damning, but short on information. It still doesn't answer the question of what happened to the missing plane days after its disappearance. It does seek to inspire hope in the family members of the two pilots. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao, is asking Air Force personnel to remain undeterred in the fight against insurgency. The Air Chief has traveled to Maiduguri to coordinate a combined Air Force and Army search and rescue team that is trying to find the missing aircraft.
Let me state clearly that the videos being circulated on social media alleging that the aircraft was shot down is false. Let us not be deterred by propaganda. From critical analysis of available evidences, it is obvious that the air accident was caused by other factors, which will soon be made public. There are well efforts are being made to rescue and recover the crashed aircraft.
A video released on social media by Boko Haram shows the insurgents with wreckage. They claim to have shot down the jet. The fighters are shown mocking the Nigerian military. The Air Force says the video of the plane falling from the sky is a simulation. Officials insist the group does not have the firepower to bring down a jet. But experts say that while the part of the video that shows the plane crashing is fake, the rest appears to be real. Ferdinand Duroha, Arise News.
Let's bring in security expert and retired U.S. Army officer Captain Bish Johnson and Air Vice Marshal Femi Gbadebo, a retired Nigerian Air Force officer. Let's start from the studio right here. From your experience, what's your thought when you look at what has happened so far? How do you analyze this? The first thing is this being a missing aircraft, and then the next thing is the military saying they've not been able to find it. And in the social media, we hear that this aircraft has been found by Boko Haram, and so on and so forth. What's your initial thought about the way we manage this information?
First and foremost, thank you for having me here. That is the problem the Nigerian military has right now, is that as with regards to information management, Boko Haram seems to be having an upper hand in the sense that the aircraft has not been found. The Nigerian military has not been able to either recover or rescue their air crew. Until the Nigerian military is able to do that, it will be very, very difficult for them to refute the video that was put out by Boko Haram, even when it's possible that that video was put out for propaganda purposes.
All right, let me find out from Femi Gbadebo, retired AVM, Nigeria Air Force 2. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we heard from the Air Force authorities there that other factors may have led to the crash of this fighter jet. What factors really could have played out, apart from the fact that Boko Haram, may have brought it down?
Well, the major factor is that the timing of the operation is not the best. After 5 p.m. with the Hamatan haze and poor visibility in that area, going in for those kind of ground support operations could put the pilots in jeopardy, because you see, when you dive to release your bombs or your rockets, you are going to have to make a very, very aggressive pull-up to avoid hitting the ground yourself. And in that process, you're also turning away to get away from the area where there could be hostile fire. A lot of things could happen to pilots, especially when they're relatively young. I think the video that was shot, that was shown, was that sort of like a missile or a rocket had hit the plane. If such an equipment had hit the plane from the rear end, the tail portion, as the Boko Haram showed, would not have been available. Everything would have been shattered in midair, and you'd have had the aircraft falling over a very wide expanse of land, and not what they showed us there. It is possible that the Air Force have not been able to locate the airplane because it's a very wide area, The area is mountainous. It is mostly controlled by the insurgents. And so don't forget here that my friend is talking about, the military not managing information well. We have a new chief of air staff. He just had a nasty experience in Abuja, and here's coming another one. He needs to get his act together. They've also changed their director of information. It takes a while to build a right rapport with the media, as you know. So the new man coming in is still finding his feet. So it's not just the best of time for things like this. But I think we have to be very careful not to continue to play into the hands of the insurgents, because you see here, too much information coming from the insurgents into our media is achieving exactly what they want, to demoralize our aircrew and our fighting men, and of course, to put the families into a lot of despair.
Let me stay with you, AVM. If you were to be in the force, not retired now, what will be the kind of message that you will be saying the Nigerian Air Force should be putting out if you were to advise them? What should they be putting out?
The fact that they've lost an aircraft, that is information that they should put out, which they put out. The initial information was not the best when they said an aircraft, as if they didn't know the aircraft. But they quickly got their act together and they named the aircraft. They've even named the pilots that were in the aircraft. I think that until you have everything as it should be, you don't declare a man dead until you have obvious evidence of the body. You have the body, or you have evidence that they have actually died in their plane. Don't forget that aircraft has ejection seats, and it is possible for one or two of the pilots to eject before the aircraft is down. The Alpha Jet has what we call a 0-0 ejection seat, which means that even on the ground, on the runway, the pilots can eject and survive. Some aircrafts, you have to be at a certain speed, at a certain height, before you can be guaranteed a survival. But the Alpha Jet has one of the best ejection seats.
Come back to the studio with Bish, and the AVM retired just gave us a little clue about what an air fighter jet actually looks like. Help us understand the features within this aircraft that makes it the right aircraft for this kind of operation, the ground support operation that they actually went out for. And in a situation like this where it's about to crash, help us understand what the scenarios could be playing out, because there was no mayday from the pilots at all, that there was any danger of any kind. Bish?
Okay. First and foremost, let me correct what the Air Vice Marshal said. I think the Air Force has managed the information very well. I did say they did manage the information very well. What I said was that it is very difficult for them to refute the video, being that they have not recovered the fighter jets and they have not rescued or recovered their airmen. So with that video being put up by Boko Haram, it's very difficult for them to refute it, since they don't have their own aircraft, they've not seen the aircraft and they've not recovered their airmen. Now, there could be several other factors. Personally, I don't believe that Boko Haram was able to shoot down that aircraft. It's possible, but I don't believe. I am thinking that this is a propaganda put out there, doctored, put out there to gain attention. There could be several factors why the aircraft had crashed. It could be technical, it could be human error, but until the actual aircraft is found and investigation is carried out, you won't be able to determine whether this aircraft was brought down by incoming fire. If it's brought down by a missile, there will be shrapnels on the body that will penetrate from the outward, telling you that something from outside actually hit the aircraft.
Okay, so very quickly, let me I'll still stay with you. Do you believe, I mean, you made a statement earlier that it looks from all indication that Boko Haram does have the upper hand. The fact that the Nigerian Army forces, the Air Force and other forces are not able to go to that particular territory to recover or search and rescue this particular aircraft. What does that say, Bish?
Well, it means that Boko Haram is still a very potent force to reckon with. Being that this whole territory, like my co-guest has said, is controlled by the insurgents, it's possible that that aircraft may have fallen off, and they were able to discover that the aircraft because it fell within their territory. So Boko Haram, for them not to be able to reach the area where Boko Haram said they found this aircraft, it means that Boko Haram is still a very potent force to reckon with. I've always believed that Boko Haram is still a very potent force. We should not ignore them. We should not assume that they have been degraded to the point that they can't pose serious threats to us.
All right. Let me go straight to AVM then, just to help us wrap this conversation up. In terms of the capacity of the Nigerian Air Force and the Nigerian military as a whole, to get into that territory to do the recovery and bring back the bodies, if the body was said to be dead or anything, what do they need to do now? Because it looks like they're still searching, but some people are alleging that they can't get into enemy territory. That's why they've not been able to do the rescue and recover.
Well, they have helicopters and they have the ground forces. Mind you, this is not just about the Nigerian Air Force. The army on ground, it calls for a coordinated approach where the army was, even if the Boko Haram is there, it's to force them back so that the rescue operations can take place and we can recover whatever is left. Even, you see, if a pilot ejects and is injured, there's a limited amount of time that there's shock, there's excessive loss of body fluid in terms of dehydration and all that. And so you need to get there in time to get them out. I would tell you the problem here is that like I said, the operation was into twilight zone. So nobody is going to be able to go in there for search and rescue for close to 12 hours. And that has cost them time. Right. But the Boko Haram people who are on ground see the aircraft coming down.
Thank you very much. That's all the time we have. Bish Johnson, a retired U.S. Army captain, right here in the studio. Thank you so much. And Femi Gbadebo, retired Air Vice Marshal, Nigerian Air Force.